higher weights. I want to get 5 to 10 pound weights. I know how you have that.
There they are, dear, right there. Take a look.
I'd like to introduce Fred Wentworth to give the invocation. Fred?
I find it very much a privilege to be here tonight on what I would consider a really joyous occasion, one of true happiness I sincerely hope to be in his family. And I'd like to ask that we now bow for a moment of prayer. We come this night to celebrate the life of a man who has spent many, many hours, days, weeks, and years in dedication to help in making education a success within the school district in which we labor. We thank you for his many hours that he has given those beyond, way beyond the call of duty. We know that this will truly be great, that his health shall be spectacular, and that his thoughts may be clear, and that he may know that he still has work to do, if only as a friend and a guide for those that he has come to know over the years. We thank you this night, that our bodies might be made strong, that we too might be able to do our share in making this world a better place, such as we has done in the past. This we ask in thy name.
some don't, however. I'm Don Becker, and I'm in a little bit of a unique role here. I happen to be president of the Teachers Association, and Lee doesn't know this, but in the last negotiations, one of the sidebars to that negotiations was that I got to do this. So,
What did it cost us?
that much, Jack. However, there's a little bit of a problem. It appears there's a grievance that's been filed, and the fact is we can't retire. Now, I don't want you to worry, because I've talked to the state retirement, and we have people on there, and we take and do some things there. So you won't get your check, so don't worry. But Ryan Moser, he assures me he probably could write a handwritten check. Get it there real quick. Now, we have some... Now, we don't want to mess around. First of all, we want you to know who this guy is, this Lee Harris. So, Lee, you got to come out here with a... Bring this chair out here. That's so he can't sneak out, he's been known to do. Now, we have taken some depositions, but we also have some witnesses that will be called tonight to handle this grievance right here and now. There's no time delay, so you can take a long time and say no. We've done that before. Dave Hoover, wherever he is, he's going to serve as our arbiter, and he will also swear in the witnesses. He's going to do it kind of in a blanket statement about wherever Dave is. There he comes.
Dave Hoover.
What's it paid for this by the hour?
I see you.
I'll have to bring my plate up so I can.
His hand is on the wheel.
All right, I see the grievance is present, and I'm glad of that. And I'm also pleased that you've asked me to be your arbitrator. I know over the years, the Kenmore School District has been known as a school district of excellence, and Lee was known as an administrator of excellence, and we want to have an excellent arbitration here to get to the bottom of this grievance and come out with an excellent result. Some results are more excellent than others, like some schools are more excellent than others. All right, now I'm told there are some witnesses here, and you know who you are, but we want all the witnesses to raise their right hand, or whichever hand they can raise at this point, and to swear that they will tell the truth and nothing but the truth about all the bad things, and you can make up or say whatever you want about the good things. If you do so swear, then please carry forward with your case, Mr. Baker.
This is kind of a first, you two guys on the same side.
That should tell you something.
I'm worried.
Yeah, believe me,
Now,
this way.
first of all, there's a record of this, and please let the record be shown that Dave's not on the clock. No, there's only so much of this being on the same side.
What's all right, Don? We'll go through Moses. Tom Valentine, who's Lee's counterpart in some group called Snort, which he could explain that.
God, I am in trouble.
Yes, you are. But Tom is going to make the first charge.
Hi there.
I have a charge here. I'm the personnel administrator at one of his neighboring districts, Sweet Home. And I'm representing Snort, and Don is dying to hear what Snort stands for, so I won't tell him at this point. I have here at least something from the Erie County Civil Service Office. And I'll read it. The Civil Service Office for the County of Erie, New York is charging the Kenmore Town of Tonawanda School District with a violation of regulations as follows. Now, I don't know how you ever violate anything, but let's see what it is. Mr. Lee Harris is prohibited from retiring because of the improper appointment to the position of Deputy Superintendent, retired. Mr. Harris was not selected from the top 3 eligible candidates. The Civil Service Division of the County of Erie, New York hereby demands the presence of Mr. Harris, the superintendent, the president of the Board of Education, and the school attorney in my office to review and resolve this issue. Signed,
Keith Springer.
Student Representative. Now at the bottom there's a little note on this. For those of you who don't know how well Lee did with Keith in civil service, always was willing to cooperate in every manner whatsoever, and was just pleased to do whatever he needed to do to cooperate with the civil service people. The violation was uncovered by friends of Mr. Harris, all members of the Western New York Association of School Personnel Administrators, some of which are in the room, and of SNORT, and in recognition by his colleagues of the close working relationship shared between Mr. Harris and the Civil Service Office regarding civil service responsibilities and adherence to civil service regulations. Now, for the SNORT means, and I'll be corrected if I get this wrong, school negotiators opposed to recalcitrant teachers. Did you notice the citation's a little off-center? That kind of says it, Lee.
Judy will treasure this forever.
Now, we have a deposition here from Elsie Jepson. Now, Lee is leaving the district before we have completed an evaluation of his personality, as reflected in the wooden toys he makes as part of his therapy. Now, he has made significant strides in moving from pointed objects to rounded items. Now, see, one of the things, if you don't know Elsie, she doesn't know anything about age. That is not a result of therapy, that's just a result of getting older. In addition, when he takes his craft with him,
Is what?
we'll have no decent chairs to sit on, nor toys to play with, both resulting in changes in working conditions. And that's from Elsie Jepson. The Transportation Department has a word or two here to say also. To present that, I'd have Gloria Whitnell.
Been waiting for this a long time.
Transportation testifies that Lee Harris cannot leave the district because A, someone has to instruct us how to measure the distance from a house to school for the 3rd or 4th time. After all, maybe the building or the school has moved. Or the person measuring the distance may have different size shoes. B, he has been unable to create the necessary number of parking slots for the ad building. C, he still is unable to say no, 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 1,000 times no, when a mommy requests a house pickup for her kindergarten because she has 3 other children at home, all under the age of 5, is 7 months pregnant, and will be for the remainder of the year. She has 5 dogs and 3 cats exactly when the school bus comes. Therefore, she cannot walk to the corner. D, we have to have someone to blame when our drivers ask why they have to perform certain illogical, unpleasant duties. D, someone must explain what past practice means and why it always seems to be used only to the benefit of the unions. And finally, who will tell us the mystery of the universe? Rich Ehlers testifies, Lee may not retire because he has taken with him a vast store of personal knowledge and experience, far exceeding that of anyone else, including where the bodies are buried.
That's the clearest thing you've ever heard.
He says that's the clearest thing you've ever heard from Rich Ehlers. Kenmore's administrator, Florence Kern, testifies, Lee may not retire because he has allowed 5 administrators to retire last year and 3 this year. We must take a vote on his retirement. Florence, you have something to say?
Sure. Hi, Lee.
Watch out.
Still got 7 days.
How many more days? Just a couple, I know.
Well, Lee, I just want to say a few words about being prepared to do this. And, we just can't let you go unless we caucus. We always have to caucus on major issues like this. First of all, there's breakfast at Perkins. If you can make that in the morning. I think the boys have changed the time, though, from 7:30 to 10:40, okay? Secondly, we have to decide on staffing. You have to do all that before you leave, because all the administrators here want to know the exact number. You got that down pat? Yes, Lee? Thirdly, we just want to make sure we give you all the cheers and joys that you need to carry out your task out there and enjoy the time with everybody else. But before you do that, I need to have a couple of administrators come up here so we can caucus. Rick Coates, how about coming up here? Tom Schwob, Kenny Ring, where are you? Come on up here, fellas. We have to caucus to see if Lee can retire. Here they come. You were afraid of that, huh? Yeah, come on. Yeah, this is the Perkins group.
Here comes ham and eggs, waffles.
What would you like, Lee? Get the hell out of here, get the tan off.
You're getting the bill.
What do you think, Val? You think we should let him retire?
No.
No, I don't think so. He's not ready for it yet. Do you think? No, he hasn't worked yet. A couple more years, don't you think?
At least 2 more years.
Okay, 2 more years. Here we go, Lee. Best wishes to us.
Good to see you too.
Now, I read through the charges, and the one where the administrators actually had to vote and agree on something, that's the one he really has to watch out for. That's really pretty tough to pull off. I didn't say I wasn't a union president. Bob Freeland has given a deposition. He has made unlawful flight with invaluable expertise and information, which is critical to the operation of the Department of Instruction. And specifically, I don't know why Gloria had such trouble with the saying no. It appears from Bob the unabridged original copy of Harris's 1001 Ways to Say No. The top secret staffing formula, which was used in recent decisions in the Harris in hiring, and then the Harris decoder brain to decipher the variations. The key to the safety deposit box containing the exact number of staffing positions held in reserve for the coming year. We couldn't roll. He probably had that key in his pocket. The recipe for doctoring the Harris candy dish located in the personnel office, and the antidote needed to allow someone to say no. And then further, the abandonment of the Department of Instruction at the most crucial time of the year, leaving some carton of 2,325 letters that are addressed, but they weren't mailed. I don't know what that is. Obviously somebody does. One 1983 special parking permit for an oversized on the corner slot. It must be for that little car you have. An annotated listing of the only items not eligible for the 93-94 budget hit list. Seems to me there's some pretty serious charges there. We have a deposition from the Building and Grounds, Rick Oliver. Lee cannot retire until the time comes when I'll call him at 3 a.m. to advise him of the snow, and he's the first one to answer the phone. And he doesn't have to feel guilty about waking up Doris. I didn't know this until just now. We all know Doris is the one who wakes up and makes the decision on whether or not... I've been putting the snowblower by the wrong window. Vi Sainer from the Food Service Department has a personal note. I was asked to say something humorous, but the last 12 years have been very traumatic. And now that we have just started this profit sharing, you cannot leave until the final outcome. And speaking of profit sharing, it goes against my better judgment to give you this gold pass that entitles you to a lifetime of free school lunches. Do you have that gold pass here? Where is it? There she comes.
And we'll have tuna fish for you, and we'll have the bottom of the bagel.
He's a sneaky devil. She is. But Lee, you better say your prayers, because if a management company comes in and takes over, this pass won't be worth the paper it's printed on. Now you would think Lee, the man of detail that he is. I mean, we're sitting tonight, Lee did that. So he plays on that detail part, but it seemed that he would have taken care of this detail. The Kenmore Schoolmaster, that's the bowling league. Well, it seems that you neglected to file a withdrawal form from the Kenmore Schoolmaster bowling. And if we calculate the interest, CPI, punitive damage, you come to $3,433.17 in back dues. Now, the deduction will be made from your retirement checks pending negotiations. Of course, the rumor has it that the case of Molson's that Ron Bonji and I will pick up some hot July night will settle the problem. There's a serious question raised by the Kenmore Teachers Association, and it has to do with the dispute over the royalties. seems that the Just Say No people are arguing over who should get the royalties for that campaign. Now, the KTA has testimony and the factual green sheets, which are negotiations, both establishing that Lee is the undisputed originator of that campaign. Now, we haven't completed our investigation and substantiation from the KAA and the KTSEA, those are the two sister unions. But Brian Bange will give a little additional testimony to support our charge.
He is.
You can tell Lee made out the seating chart.
Wouldn't you think table 2 would be just a little closer?
It was almost a little further away.
It's all right. You'll be around looking for pension supplementation. Boy, standing under all these balloons, no offense to anyone from Williamsville, it reminds me of a story from old Germany. The 24th of December, the man hears all this clatter. He runs to the shutters, opens the shutters. He looks out the window and he sees a sleigh and reindeer land on this little square roof. And the little fat man gets out and goes down this round pipe. He's not down 3 seconds. He comes flying up the pipe again, goes up to the lead reindeer, slaps him across the face and says, "Dummkopf, I said the Schmidt house." I only have 3 minutes and they asked me not to get too flowery. But then again, I know Lee, so we don't have to worry about it. Our last 3 contracts have been negotiated very successfully, I think, for both sides, and very quickly. And he thinks he takes a lot of credit for that. Actually, that was our way for the office of the KTA to get invited to the party Doris had after the annual budget vote. Now, you know, Lee and I, Lee being the board's negotiator, me being the chief negotiator for the KTA for the past several years, have been at odds for a long time. I mean, it's just a natural course. But one of the things that you might not know is the way he's treated my very good friend, Don Benker. When Lee came on 12 years ago, Don had a full head of hair. At least Don gave him a black hat.
So did I.
He also had black hair.
We're very pleased that Lee is taking a family vacation, much deserved, to Disney World. But we knew he must have been there before, because many of his proposals, we think, originate out of fantasy. He doesn't know this, but his pastor at St. Edmunds, I was an altar boy for him. Father Smeralda, who you call Father Murphy. I don't understand that. Father Murphy. But what we have done we tried to bug Lee's office. We plant little wires in there so we can get some inside scoop. And everyone knows Lee's penchant for woodworking. But we bugged every place that Lee would visit frequently. So we said, what better place than his confessional? And it kind of went like this one day, where one Saturday Lee went in there and said, "Bless me, Father, for I sinned. I stole some 2x4s. And then the good priest said, "Lee, that's terrible for your penance, 5 Our Fathers and 5 Hail Marys." Well, the next week we're listening again, and Lee goes in and says, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I stole some plywood." He said, "Lee, this has to stop. For your penance, say the rosary." Well, my gosh, the 3rd week he goes in there and he says, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I stole a half a truck of oak." He said, "Lee, do you know how to make a novena?" "No, I don't, Father. If you get the plans, I'll get the law." Lee, in all sincerity, we wish you well.
Personnel Department. We have some insights from there. Lee cannot retire until he can hear the beeper on his electronic calendar. Here's this handcrafting again. He handcrafts us all tables and chairs to match and explain why the handcrafted objects in his office are pointed. Another throwback.
I didn't do that.
That's not Patsy.
Actually, here's one I can kind of relate to. He establishes a filing system and does not put everything into the center drawer or in a huge pile for later. He learns when dictating memorandums, number 2 always follows number 1. Somehow they have the idea that you put it after number 5 or number 6. The department can find a way to get the mailroom before he does. Evidently there's some stuff disappears between the mail house and the department. And then there seems to be a little remedial work needed. And you can learn to spell, especially the word warehouse. Or it gives us directions to where the infamous whorehouse is in the administration. Until he learns he can say no. Especially when it comes to scheduling appointments or putting someone on the preferred substitute teacher list. And they didn't really have enough room here to list all the charges, and Betty Mitchell is going to give some additional testimony. Betty?
Oh, boy.
Still not sure I can do this. Oh, yeah, put my glasses on.
Lee, you've heard just a few of the charges the personnel department could have brought against you and why you shouldn't be allowed to retire. And one of the ones that Don talked about was your infamous spelling. And what I have here is a draft of a document that you wrote under your signature and Bob Eicher's in 1979 on the evaluation procedures for the administration building to follow in case of a fire. And on the third page, I really have it here. And on the third page, Lee writes under first floor, one, he does, here we can go in sequence. Under number 3, buildings and grounds, food services, front half, a poorhouse. Exit passage door in southeast corner of poorhouse. Number 4, rear of poorhouse. Exit rear overhead poorhouse door.
Ernie Cawley helped me.
As further proof, in one of your budget recommendations to the Board of Education during that same period, same paper, same pen, under 6 he had eliminate 50% of summer help, 7, eliminate 2 elementary program supervisors, 8, eliminate central poorhouse. You've been waiting for it.
Oh, no, I haven't.
That piece of
But I'm
paper.
expecting it.
Seriously, Lee, you shouldn't be allowed to retire because all of us in the personnel department will miss you more than you'll ever know. You have given us all opportunities for personal and professional growth over these past 12 years. Through your mentoring, you have made us not only a team, but a family. You're wearing a black hat tonight, as you've had to do many times in labor negotiations or labor relations. But to the department, you are a white knight in shining armor. Beverly, Carol, Judy, Maureen, and I wish you and Doris well in Camelot. good filing systems.
Yeah.
This next comes from Robert Walker, who's the district's negotiator, and I know him personally. And so I paid particular interest to his comments, and it says, as the hard-nosed, to put it delicately, management lawyer, well, that piqued my interest. So I went back, found out where Bob went to high school. He didn't pass an anatomy course there. Went to college records, human biology, human anatomy. He didn't, it's not hard nose, it's hard ass that he is. But in any event, I have some very grave charges to prefer against Lee Harris. I charge him with always being concerned about the impact of every move on the other side. If I'd known that, we would have made more moves. Never losing sight of the big picture, always keeping the long-range view in mind. Making sure that the little guy is never forgotten. Being one of the best employee advocates I know. I guess I would have to agree with about there. Unusual, but I would. All of which, no doubt, why I have concluded after 30 years in the field that he's the most effective labor relations manager I have ever had the joy to work with, Robert Walker. The next charge comes from the Board of Education, and it seems that you can't retire since there will be no one to calmly respond to Michael Smith at the Board of Education. You've done an admirable job of that over the years. Bruce Richardson is going to give some additional testimony to that effect.
I left my house tonight, my wife said, "Where the hell are you going with a briefcase? I thought you were going to a party." I said that Harris is such a taskmaster, even at his retirement party, we're going to have one last meeting about the KTA union. You think it's funny, huh?
I stopped before you again.
I've been working at this point in my life, it's almost 7 years on the Board of Education. And prior to that, I spent 2 or 3 years on the other side of the table watching what the Board of Education did. Obviously, I didn't learn too much because I'm still here. However, in all those years, there was always one person, ice water in his veins, cool, calm, and collected. Everybody else went to pieces. George Jackson used to get red in the face. One person could handle Mike Smith, and nobody else could. For those of you that don't know Mike Smith, he comes to each and every board meeting, lectures us on world economy, human anatomy, you name it, he's gone the gamut. And usually directs most of his aggressiveness towards Lee Harris. Well, Lee, for the 10 years I've been watching you, you were impeccable. You were a gentleman. You were cool, calm, and most of all, you were professional. Never once did Lee ever get mad, lose his cool. Perfect, perfect, perfect. However, Lee's last board meeting, he knew it was his last, we knew it was last. That was a beautiful evening. Lee and Doris Harris presented the Board of Education with a plaque listing all the board members that have ever served in our district since 1927. When our district was incorporated. It was a touching evening. We cried, he cried, then the board got to speak in public comments. And every one of the board members just spoke their heart out and expressed to Lee how we felt about him and what he meant to us. It was truly touching. However, at that point later in the evening, it came to public comments. And I thought, well, this is going to be a better evening. All of the animals that come to the board meetings are going to realize this is a special evening for Lee Harris, and they're going to be cool, calm, and collected. The first person I called on is Mr. Smith, figuring I will get him first, nobody else will get him angry, They'll say to Lee and Doris, Godspeed, have a good retirement, sit down and shut up. I think he had those intentions. Mr. Smith responds for his comment. He says, I quote, Mr. Harris, on your retirement, Godspeed, you and your wife. Catches his breath, Lee jumps in. This is where he blew it. Doris, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You must have known this was going to happen. Lee looks at Mr. Harris with fire in his, or Mr. Smith, with fire in his eyes, and he goes, I'm going to miss you. A little bit of jest. We have engaged in monthly repartee. Translated means we've argued. I do a lot of woodworking, a lot of work with tools. Knowing you is like hitting your thumb with a hammer. How wonderful it is when the pain goes away. We knew we were in trouble. Now, this touchy evening where we had tears in our eyes, we were damp up here. After that remark, we were concerned about dampness in other places. I had taken the liberty of having Eleanor Brent do the official board minutes, which we've had mounted for your enjoyment in future years. Now, being astute, we realize that Lee does have certain astute. Actually, Greg, it's the first time I've seen you awake in years. In all truth be known, you have him yourself known. But this last instance, the last board meeting you attended, you did fall back one step. And for this, all of us are truly grateful. But this has spurred an offshoot. In your honor, and I'll read this plaque now. This is the Mike Smith Sore Thumb Award. Present to Lee Harris for outstanding service. Last board meeting, 12/14/92.
It was worth the pain.
We have one more witness, and my opening day remarks, I mentioned that the district has won many awards, and we've gone through some very prestigious awards, and I was figuring that there weren't any more awards that Jack Helfrich could have us go after. And I would like to add that before I call on the next witness, the fact that we do have won those awards would not have been won without the kind of collaboration and cooperation that has been demonstrated by Lee Harris. So I thank you for that. Jack Helfrich has been duly sworn and will testify.
Get the pen out for this.
He said sworn in, I think. Something is terribly wrong. I've never been in a situation where we've had a teachers union president trying to get an administrator to stay on the job. So I don't know what happened here. So I figured it probably was even illegal. And so I punched up on my computer lawyer, and I got 173 names. So I called one and I asked the question, is it really legal for the KTA to represent an administrator in an arbitration hearing. And they didn't really know. And they said, we'll be glad to look it up and let you know. So I called another lawyer. I got the same answer again. And they said, we would be very happy to look it up and let you know. And this went on and on and on. And I never did get an answer, Don, but I did call NYSET, and they have agreed to pay the attorney's fees for the search. We've had everything from the Schmidt house, the Moore house, to Campbell. And Lee is renowned for his woodworking and things like that, and he is working on one final project, and I hope you get it done, Lee, because whenever he invites Don into his office, there's a certain place that Don has to sit. And Don, he's working on a trap door. And he can sit at his desk and push a button. But anyway, we do have something for Lee. It's not really for you, Lee. It's something about Lee. And you see the sack, it's KB, America's Toy Store. Now, Lee, I want you to know you can look, but you can't keep, okay?
Is this anything like that postcard you sent?
This is a blow-up of the postcard.
I'll turn it this way then.
Yes. Okay, you have to give it back. And this will be displayed in an appropriate spot in the administration building.
Well, I have the formal charges here. And from time to time, we would let you testify in defense. However, that wastes a lot of time, so we've asked Dave Hoover to render a verdict here.
I'm pleased that we didn't have to waste a lot of time with the defense of these charges. They're very serious, and I've sat here and listened to all the evidence and tried to listen carefully, and I think most of the witnesses were credible. I'm not sure about Ron Bonji, because I was around 12 years ago, and unless Don had skin-colored hair, probably because I was too young in 1979, I was never told about the whorehouse. You were too young. I was too young, I must be it. But in any event, I've listened to all this testimony and to all these witnesses, and one can only reach the conclusion that what we have here is an outstanding administrator, an outstanding educator who has served this community and this district very well for over 30 years. You know the date and the times more than I. And it's going to be a very difficult task to allow him to retire. And it seems to me, in coming to an award, we've got several choices. We can allow him to retire. That would be one choice. We can allow him not to retire. That's on the other end of the spectrum. Now, when we say not to retire, well, we've got past practice. We've heard about past practice. And I'm a lawyer, and I don't know what the hell it means either, but we always talk about past practice. And past practice is that administrators and teachers get to retire. So we have to let them retire. But we still have to come up with something, because there's a heavy burden of evidence here. Now, maybe we need some kind of in-between kind of
You're starting to sound like Judge Wapner.
And he's been canceled. Thank you. All right. We need something in between making it work forever and just letting it go. And I thought maybe we should we should sentence him to serve for perhaps the additional amount of time that it took to settle the last KAA contract. We thought that might be an appropriate length of time. But then, as Lee said, that was forever, so that wouldn't work either. So I finally came up with it as I sat here and weighed the evidence. Mr. Harris will be allowed to retire on January 4th, is it as planned and as the papers filed with the retirement system say. However, it is my award and my considered opinion that his sentence, shall we call it, shall be to return on the second Monday of every month, wearing the black hat, the small sign with the blinking red lights, and sit next to Mr. Smith.
I do want to give my thanks to Barb Palazzo, who is responsible for the program that you have this evening, and then the grievance that is framed up here presented to Lee. And thank Barb very much. June Curley and Bruce Richardson, and make a presentation to Lee.
You did yours already? Bruce said I get to talk, he did his part already. Lee, on behalf of all of your friends gathered here tonight, to pay tribute to you and all the wonderful years that you have served us in our community, it's a great pleasure for us to present this gift to you, and now you can save your cigarette money and go out and buy you some other little gadget. So on behalf of all of us, we'd like to present you with this token of our appreciation. You're welcome. Open it.
Is it ticking, Lee?
Can't hear you on the phone right now.
Sony video cassette recorder, plays back the 8mm cassettes from the camcorder that I bought. A month or so ago with my cigarette lighter. Thank you.
Lee, it's been a pleasure working with you over the years, and we've had a lot of difficult times, a lot of fun times, and I certainly always have enjoyed that. I'd ask you to say a few words.
Which of the three are you going to pick? Which of the three speeches are you going to pick?
Well, I played around with this for a long time, what to say, because first of all, I didn't know what Don was going to say or anybody else, and so I had 5 different scripts prepared. You know, I guess to start off, Jackie Gleason's said it all, how sweet it is, wow, and everything like that. You know, to think that 225 people would come out here on a Saturday night and break bread with me, frankly, it just blows my mind. Spent 13 years in labor relations, backed up by 25 years before that with the district. I'm just flabbergasted. Of course, the real reason for our getting together tonight, as some of you close to this table know, is the fact that my father's namesake, Ben Harris, is 14 years old today. That's the real reason. Problem the Doors and I are going to have is, how the hell are we going to top this next year? I guess that's our problem. You know, I left the ad building yesterday afternoon, and as I calculated, for about the 6,920th time, and there's only 7 more to go. So In a way, that's kind of sad, but Art Peterson, who some of you know, my predecessor, my friend, my mentor, my neighbor, I asked him 13 years ago, how did you know you were ready to retire? And, he said, I don't know, Lee, but when you're ready, you'll know you're ready. And I guess that pretty well summarizes it. I sat down with Jack a year ago. It happened to be Halloween Day. I said, maybe some significance in that, Jack. There isn't, I'm sorry. And that kind of set the thing in motion. I'm ready. It isn't because I don't love what I'm doing. I do love what I'm doing. It seems to be the time to go is when you're riding at crest, when you feel good, your health is good, you're getting along fine with people, and some new things to do, that's all. So, this all started, 38 years ago or so, 37 years ago, a passing conversation when I was student teaching in Angola, and it was literally Angola then, I guess. A fellow by the name of Ed Morris, and I'll bet you there's only 2 or 3 people in the audience that remember him, a professor at State University College, who was my student teaching supervisor, suggested I call one of his cronies up here in Kenmore, and I didn't even know where Kenmore was, by the name of Lynn Nichols. They might have a job. And that's what furnished the lead in the first place. That's what brought me out here. That's what caused Doris and I to buy a house out here, put 2 kids through one of the best school districts in the country for 12 years each, and talk about luck, talk about being fortunate. So that's where it all began. I remember that summer in 1956, I was taking a couple of courses in summer school to make up for a few that I had messed up on before I went in the Army. And there were 2 gals in the class who I considered to be old women at the time. They were probably 35 years old. And I mentioned to them that I was starting as a brand new teacher in Kenmore, and they commented how lucky you are, what a marvelous school district, what a wonderful community. And boy, they were right. They were right then, and right now, they've always been right. It's really been fun. I've been a teacher, a laborer, an electrician, a consultant, I don't know, Jack, sooner or later they'll find a job classification around here that I can do properly, perhaps. I probably had more than anybody in history. I was going to bring along a cassette that I have, that Doris and I bought some time ago, John Denver. But if I did, I'd really be breaking up here. John has on one of his cassettes a not very well-known song entitled Poems, Prayers, and Promises. And just to quote a few lines which say it better than I can say it, I've been lately thinking of my lifetime, and I have. We all do. You get in personnel work and you can't help but think about it. We've had a few events in our family life too that have caused me to think. So that helped me make the decision. Another quote from John. I have to say it now, it's been a good life all in all. Gentlemen and ladies, it's been a good life all in all, and to a very large extent it's because of you and people like you. You know, to think that I've had the good fortune of spending the better part of my adult life in this community and for this school district, put my kids, and we're both sitting over here, and that's pretty nice too, through the schools, and get paid pretty well for it too. You know, you guys on the Board of Education, you don't get paid, but you have a good time. I get paid well for it. Now, how lucky can you be? There's still so much to do. I think that kind of says it from there. There's still so much to do. So many things my mind has never known. And he closes his song with, it's going to be fine to have a chance to hang around. I went into teaching 42 years ago. My father and I talked a little bit about this. I was an avid fisherman, and one of the misguided reasons I went into teaching perhaps was because I had summers off. I could fish. 43 years later, I'm looking forward to the first summer off, so I don't know whether I want to fish anymore, but I will have the opportunity to hang around, and it's going to be nice. There's so many people to say thank you to. If I start trying to identify people who will be here all night, I'm not going to subject you to that. There's so many people to be thankful for. But there's one person I got to say thank you for, and that's my pal over here, my wife. Because when I think back at her watching these, well, we'll start not in any consecutive order, but I happen to be an insomniac, and this type of work promotes that. She bought me a reclining chair 4 or 5 years ago, which is the biggest mistake you probably ever made. And she's seen me sleep more than I care to admit. She's been my mentor, my helper, my mirror, my friend, in addition to being a wife. So if I've been able to be any success at all, particularly in personnel and labor relations, where you really have to have kind of a steady hand and a steady heart, it's because of you. It wouldn't have happened without you, kiddo. tell you, if there ever is a National Award of Excellence for Wife of the Year, I'll fill that application out. But beyond that, what a pleasure it's been. I made a few comments in addition to what I said to Mr. Smith. That was really kind of spontaneous. I really wasn't planning. That'll be next month. I've had the pleasure and the honor to work with so many grand people on the Board of Education. It's so great to see so many of you here tonight. It's been fun. It really has. What a role model for the kids to see volunteerism and dedication to community still alive and well in our boards of education. I've worked very, very closely with the last 4 superintendents, Jack, Phil, Dick, Sherwood. And if that doesn't say anything about my versatility and adaptability, the staff and personnel, buildings and grounds, food service and transportation, to whom I'm so dedicated and so in debt. Just a great bunch, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. And everybody else. You just can't. You can't name them all. What happens next? As I said to some of you, I guess 5 years ago, I would have said, I've got to have something lined up. I've been structured for all of my life. I said to a few of you here earlier tonight that the only thing I'm sure of is that we're going to take the kids down to Florida. But on January 4th, I'm going to buy a good bottle of champagne rather than that usual swamp water I buy for Doris. And on January 4th, I don't care if it's 20 below zero.
Tell them what you said you're going to buy the best bottle of champagne, $4 will buy.
No intention of dropping my interest in the community or certainly not the school district. I suspect that you may see me around relative to the school operation, not just to whisper sweet nothings in Michael Smith's ear, although that could be fun. I told Larry Wilder I might learn to drive a school bus for Williamsville. But whatever happens, you'll all be in my heart, and Doris's and the family's too, as long as we live. And I think my biggest fear is that when you cut the cord, the friendships and the ties break abruptly. I know from some of my friends who are retired, assure me that that doesn't happen, but I'm in the phone book, Doris is in the phone book. Let's keep in touch, and thank you so much.
Please accept the invitation to stay around for a while. The cash bar will be open out in the corner out there. Thank you.
This is a premiere movie production of B&L Movies Incorporated. That's Ben and Lee Harris